And ooh, there we go. Howdies and salutations, y'all. One of these days I'll wait for the mic to load before I do my greeting. How are y'all doing on this fine Tuesday evening, morning, maybe a Wednesday morning for some people? I don't really know when it is for folks. I mean, if you're on the VOD, it could be any old time. But whatever time it is, I hope it's a good one. So, we are continuing Witchtober. Hopefully, keeping up the momentum from yesterday a little bit when we did that fun salt drawing. But I was thinking about this one in advance, and, oh, I'm going to move the mic back a little bit. I am really peeking that out, so warning for, like, thumping sound. Okay, that better? That should be better. A little better, anyway. And I'll just scooch the mouse away, because the mouse always sets it off. Cool. Bap. Okay, sorry. But yes, okay, Witchtober. Prompt for today is Necromancer, or Necromancy. So we'll have some fun with that, of course, but rather than doing salt for this one, I had some ideas, but this is a time for me to revive, I think, a very, very old OC. In a new version, of course. Not the same style as previous iterations of them. Certainly, I don't think this one has ever been shown on stream. Probably been mentioned once or twice. This goes back to Jeepers, like 8 years ago. Never made it into a D&D campaign. Wait. 8 years? Probably more like 10 plus years ago. Holy cow, I've been hanging on to this character for far too long. Well, in any case. Oh, and you can see I was setting up the file before stream, and I almost got a little carried away and just started going at it. So I'm leaving the background for now, because it's a nice bit of context. But, yeah, whoops, me bad. Me boyd there. Okay. So let's I'm not going to commit to the process, but we'll just sort of rough things in and see how we go. Because I'm going to want to figure out proportions after I do the post. And I've done a little sketching on this one to prep, as I like to do for these monthly contests. Because otherwise you get like 45 minutes of me just like doodling around, trying to come up with ideas. And usually doing a bad job of it, because I don't come up with ideas on the spot very well. At least not for drawings. Like, I'm not bad at brainstorming in other situations, but, like, in the moment when I'm, like, trying to generate concepts, it's like, nope. I need to be able to let the ideas kind of mull around a bit and, like, meld and mush. But yes, the new character. The new character indeed. Let us see. Oops, okay, that's probably going to be a little too long, but, well, maybe. And we'll see exactly the form this character ultimately ends up taking. But this is a D&D, like, actual player character. Normally we get my NPCs on here, but this one was an actual, like, PC that I wanted to make one time. I'm already reshuffle this a little bit. Because I was getting a 3-dimension there where I didn't really want it. At least not to the degree that we were getting it. Okay, in any case. And this will be Cleric. One of my favorite concepts that I don't think I can ever actually segue into a campaign in a remotely usable way. But that's okay. Cleric is a Necromancer. The reason that she wouldn't work in a campaign without considerable edits is that, well, the concept behind her is that she doesn't realize she's a necromancer. She, honest to goodness, believes that she's a cleric. Hold on, this is like way too side view. And I'm not entirely sure how this has been happening. Let's work on this. Trying to get kind of a front view of the character. Like a little bit 3/4, but like way less 3/4 than we're getting. I'm trying to get like a contrapposto pose, which I don't know the details of. It's like an old popular pose that's supposed to look nice, and it does look nice, and it's great for just casual standing poses. But, oh jeepers, yeah. Doing this, maybe I ought to just do the proportions and say to heck with it on the silhouette. You know what, that's what we're gonna do. Oops, nope, I want to clear that one out. We'll still do it kind of rough in here, because we're not trying to do anything crazy, but that'll do. But what we're getting with Cleric is the cleric who doesn't know that she's not actually a cleric. She was taken in at a temple that, you know, she was like a little kid, and so she didn't know better. And they weren't, like, overtly hostile to her or anything, and she didn't really get raised with, you know, stories warning about certain things, so she just assumes that this is how medicine works. And she gets called into situations where she's like, oh yeah, no, like, I can solve any of the cases that normal doctors can't. Which is true, she can revive people who no normal doctor could because they already died. I'm sure eventually at some point she would have to figure it out, but there's just, like, not a lot of good directions for character growth on that. Like, there's figuring it out, but then, like, they still raised her well, and, like, she would probably not be opposed to the necromancy even once she learned what it is. I'm looking at a statue from... Well, I should check what the actual statue is. Looks like a bronze cast of an old Greek one. This website is in Polish. Cool. I don't know. Biography of Leonard Walter Isaacson. No idea. Well. Okay, that's Polish in bold. I can't read Polish. I'd love to have a go at it, but I don't... Leonardo da Vinci... Sigmund Freud... What are these tags? Okay, well, stinging... Okay, this is David from Britannica.com. Andrea del Ferrocchio. Anyway, it's a nice statue. Weed. Regardless, that's what I'm using for the pose. Not for anything else, but just to kind of get, like, the sense of the weight. But this leg is, like, a little too far out. I need to, like, aim that a little bit. We'll get, like, the foot. It's a good kind of sassy pose, too, honestly. Very dramatic, very confident. But, like, that's the challenge with Claire's character is, like, where would she go from that point? Like, she wouldn't be evil. She also wouldn't be, you know, accepted in any, like, society. Which isn't inherently bad and could add some character conflict, but it's not, like, resolvable character conflict. So, and, like, the problem is, like, as far as party composition goes, someone who thinks they're a medic but aren't is, like, not actually a useful role. I mean, not unless you have an actual medic there. But having someone who's just very confidently wrong about the fact that they can heal people is not actually all that beneficial to the team. Okay, let's try to get some, like, actual proportions in here. Got my little stinking Among Us Among Us torso reference, and it's helped me realize that I think I've got that hip a little too low. Let's actually... right. I was messing around with some other tools while working on a separate project. Not a stream thing, just like a document. And like... So all my tool icons are messed up. I don't love that, like, the icons... I'd rather just have, like, category icons and not the icon of whatever you're currently using. Because, like, I don't really care all that much what I'm currently using. But, I do care a lot that I can find a thing at a given time when I'm trying to. And this makes that hard. Ah, yep, okay, good. Definitely this arm. This is the better choice. These big canvases are so nice. Okay, we'll get our nice little bird buddy going here. We'll keep up our bird theme for at least today. I don't know how long that's going to stay, but it's been fun to have. Okay. And then I'm thinking it'd be fun, like, somewhere in this ominous darkness behind her, behind Cleric, to, I don't know, have, like, vague hints of skeletons. Like, nah, I'm not drawing out a ton of skeletons. This is a time-stinking art challenge. We do not have 3 weeks or whatever. But, could be fun to, like, have a bunch of skellies going on. Okay, so now, if I'm trying to think through... Do I bother with silhouette, or do we jump straight to, like, a little more line work? Let's just jump straight to line work, because I've got a sense of how I want this one to go already. I'm not too worried about, like, messing with... Yeah, okay. For starters, we're going to keep moving her up. And the outfit... I don't know. I was trying to settle on something and I couldn't think of like a cleric outfit. I didn't want to do just like a generic, like, stereotypical nun outfit, well, for a lot of reasons. And like, default cleric outfits in D&D are still pretty melee oriented, all things considered. I mean, even like fancy, what you think about Shadowheart, she is like full chest plate and it's not full plate, but it's, you know, like the full metal and everything, and like mace and ready to go at it. That's not really cleric's vibe. Because Claire is technically, you know, a spellcaster. And not the cross-functional type. The, oh no, you got too close type. So... let's see. My question is, how do I want to do this one? Because I can also... I don't know. That's kind of sassy and fun, holding the orb like that. Because the other thing I had thought about was using the hip arm as the sort of like bird perch. And then like this one is just like casually clutching the magical orb that I'd like her to have for lighting reasons. But I love the confidence exuded from this pose. So, like, I'm trying to think if there's, like, if I could be, like, a... no, because that's still not, like, you wouldn't, even if you're sitting like that, you're not going to hold something in your hand. Perhaps I could give the orb to the bird. Maybe I could make the bird glow. Oh, that'd be kind of fun, actually. The bird is the light source. I'd have to render slightly more skeleton than I currently plan to, but that's maybe workable? We'll see. I don't know. Let's just focus on this. But talking about outfit ideas and concepts and all of that jazz, the one that sort of appealed to me, that's the wrong word for it, the one that I think would be a fun fit, because it's got that kind of like veiled, ominous sense a little bit, but it's also like traditionally more, I guess, religious. It's not necessarily associated with like cleric in the D&D sense, and I truly don't know, like, I was trying to find the name of the actual outfit that inspired it, because I don't know what like the history of it is. I don't want to be like using it in a terrible way, because it's a real thing. But like, I can only think of two characters that dress this way. One of them is Tanith from Elden Ring, and it's a very fun one, and to a much, much lesser extent Var, but Var's kind of got a whole different deal, like kind of surgical stuff. I don't even know. And I'm gonna really lean into some of these details like this. But the other one is, what is it, Castle Anthrax from Monty Python and the Holy Grail? Which I had to look up the name of. I was looking up, like, Monty Python nuns, which gets you a lot of results, actually. And is not altogether a helpful thing to search. But it did eventually get me there. You know what? No, I like the bottom edge we've got on this. Let's just layer down. And we can always tweak as needed. I kind of like the idea that she's somewhat semi-emerging from a cloud of fog and it's not just in the darkness, but we'll see. There's a chance this is going to end up... My first concept for this, before I like was iterating on it much, was like ominously close to Miquella's pose, and I was just like, let's mix it up a little bit, darn it. Like, come on, man. You don't have to do exactly the same thing for everything. Okay. I'm trying to think of where the tension in the fabric is going to be. I mean, this knee is ultimately going to be the tension point for some of it. But, like, it's not going to spread out all that much. And this one, I guess it's really going to be the hip. When I'm talking about tension points in fabric, like, there's certain... When you're figuring out how fabric is going to fold and crease, what you really have to figure out is where the weight of the fabric is hanging from, if it's hanging from something. If it's sitting in a pile, it's kind of a different challenge. Sometimes it becomes its own tension points in certain spots, and like it's all very complicated. But not actually that complicated. I just need to practice more. But for things like this, it's very useful to know where the tension point is, like the hip, because there's nothing else that the fabric sits on before it just drapes down. So I know sort of how to like have the creases emanate from that tension point. Or this knee in this particular part of the pose. Oops, that was my sketchbook. Okay, so it's sort of like going to be a bit there, and then there's going to be like this part here, which will just kind of follow the contour of the leg on the top as it rests upon it, but will ultimately like settle out in front of it, turning this into what looks more like baggy 70s pants until I add a little more texture to it. Whoops, okay. But that's okay. And let's see. And with this pose too, it's really not going to be just like this. I don't think this is particularly an outfit that has like a belt or is particularly tailored. So it's I guess it could be like a little tailored, but it's mostly going to be just like vertical. Well, and of course coming from the arm. I love this kind of phase where you're just scratching it in. It doesn't get like great results, but it is a fun phase. Okay, we can get sort of like, I think the head's actually in a pretty decent spot. And like the veil and the headpiece, however they actually work, always end up boxing the face in pretty well. You get like something below too, and like layers in there. But up here, it's fairly straight. Sharp edges. There we go. That was not the eraser. There we go. No, I don't want to cut the layer. I'd like to hit the correct button. My bad. Hit that nose a little too high, probably. That is okay. We'll just pencil in something vaguely smug for now. Oh, this'll be fun. We can get like some creases emanating from where the little crow is grabbing at it. Okay, if we lose the pose, that's going to lose some texture. Okay, we'll be able to see noticeable gaps and patterns and such. And of course, the contrapposto means that we've got at least one hand that's here, which is going to affect the tension. That's going to become one of those tension points I was mentioning. And this one, I mean, it's mostly going to be straight down, but it's also mostly going to be obscured by this bit of fabric here and the hand associated. And I'm still debating, do we do like skeletal hands or no? Because it'd be kind of fun, but I worry it'd be excessive. But also it would be like kind of in character. Just because the one figurine I found that was even close to Cleric, or Cleric is her name, by the way, because it's a terrible pun. And if I'm bad about those now, I was very bad about those in high school. And by bad, I mean competent and loved them. They're the best. I love puns. Hardly the lowest form of humor, it's like clever use of wordplay and references. A lot of people say puns are lowest form of humor and then go and just make a bunch of stinking, like, punch down, like, mediocre social commentary jokes. I'm like, okay, guys. Stinking, maybe you need to reevaluate that a little bit. Not to say that, like, social commentary jokes can't be good. There's plenty of excellently done ones, but there's also a lot that are very trite. And yet they act like, oh no, like, wordplay and, like, the puzzle that is grammar is very stupid and, like, lowbrow, but, like, stinking making fun of people is, like, clever. I'm like, okay. And, of course, there's people who are talking about, like, there's also lots of actual humor and bits and skits and all that jazz. Like, I'm not saying those are the only two types of jokes, and puns are probably not at the top of the pyramid, but I do think they get the short end of the stick on some things. Okay, so we've got kind of a rough sense. I guess now I'm going to have a go at some actual line work. And I, honest to goodness, I'm not confident about how this is going to go. Partly because I worry that black lines are going to be too dark, white lines are going to be too bright. So honestly, I think, yeah, let's stick with this kind of gray, and then we can adjust as needed, because this is a fairly shadowy situation. And I'm kind of on board with the bird glowing. Or something glowing. We'll figure out what exactly glows, but something will glow. Alright, also, hold on. If this is going to be... Wait. Okay, good. Yeah, let's not delete a layer with actual content on it. But let us make this a vector layer if we're going to be doing, like, actual line work on it. And I'm going to go for, like, bigger lines. Like, not huge lines, but let's go for something a little bolder. See where that gets us. Let's see. I need to think out the physics of all of it now. So we can kind of get a couple variants in there, but the thing is the tension points are going to be like here. I mean, it's going to be like across here. So like wrinkles are going to, where they land, are going to be from the weight of this pulling down. We're going to have stretch here and like creases over here, I guess. I really need to figure out is where the top of that is too. Which is of course somewhat dependent on the arm that we've not actually drawn. If we're going to do this like in a full proper drawing, I would absolutely 100% draw at that arm first and figure it out. But this is still functionally a time trial. Whoops. Guess we can go slightly smaller eraser now. Okay, yeah. Like, that might be a good place for a little bit of folds and creases. And then, of course, there's going to be a few of these from the actual bird's claws. We'll have to determine where those land, so those will probably get readjusted and so on. Okay. Yeah, I feel like that part wouldn't happen. Got this going like, whoops. I'd like to keep that line if I can. Huh. It doesn't grab the whole layer. Usually I can just grab the line, but I must have missed it. I will put it back for now. Okay. And most actual shoulder is, of course, going to get obscured by this, but I really do need to figure out, like, the actual head shape here. Actually, pretty okay with that. Ever so slightly smug. Yeah, I'm liking that. And that means that our hat line will actually be something more like this. Need to be a little less scratchy, though. And actually, I'm going to do the head itself on a separate layer real quick. Just because that's going to be a useful reference long after this is fully inked, most likely. Copy and paste. Head, let's just pop that below. And we'll do this line work. Well, I guess I could have, yeah. Actually, it would have been nice to, you know what? We can still do that. And it'll still be faster. Boom, okay. Duplicate deleted. Did I just delete it off the head layer? Dagnabbit. Line work layer. Okay, so now if I move the head layer and the line work layer. Good. Good, good, good. We can make the head a little fainter too. Just visible above the other one though. Okay. I like the squareness at the top of this. Really, I need to know what this like headwear is called and what this particular like. Is this like an abyss? Well, like not the headwear itself, but like, is this associated with the role of abyss? Or like, let's do this where we're just looking at the head as far as positioning this particular piece. Oh, really? Okay. Won't be the cleanest line work, but once again, functionally a time trial. And a much stickier time trial than we've done in a hot minute. So, I mean, we're not going to make the cross red, because we don't need the red cross coming after us. Which is a thing they do, and frankly, in my opinion, is totally valid, and people need to stinking chill about it. Like, look, given that that's important for identifying things in, like, places of major conflict, like, it is critical that it can be trusted in how it's used. And I suspect that the resources going towards maintaining their, like, stinking, what is it, a trademark or copyright, or just general, like, legal protection under the Geneva Convention or what have you. But I think it's perfectly reasonable that, like, I doubt the legal work is in any way taking away from the other work they do. And it's supporting it in its own way. So, like, I don't know. I think it's fine. I know people get snippy about, like, why are they chasing down folks in video games when they should be doing it in other things, but, like, symbolism, if there's one thing we should have figured out over the last few years of extremely potent communication and social, communications and, like, how mass groups think, it's that symbolism is extraordinarily important and impactful. And, like, only a fool would truly disregard it. That's not to say that you have to regard the symbols as truthful. Only a fool should really actually believe all the symbols they see are genuine, but like, it's... Unfortunately, there's a lot of things that... I hate to say only a fool. Everyone has foolish moments. It's not like they're a fool for falling for something or anything like that. It's just that, like, you're making a foolish choice if you're believing certain things, like, purely on their symbolic value, or that, like, the way something is titled or named has anything to do with its actual content. Because dubious things will try to sound as credible and authentic as possible. Doesn't mean they actually are. But the point is that symbols are exceedingly important, and their place in our society is, I think, much bigger than we have been giving it credit, at least over here in the States. And not everywhere in the States, but like, I think a lot of groups had sort of been like, okay, we're all about, like, rational thought and conclusions, and, like, we're pretty self-aware at this point, and, like, world conscious and all that, like, we know what's going on. And, like, religious folks were confident in their faith and all the different things. And so we've all gotten kind of caught off guard with this, well, not all, but many people have been caught off guard with how much people go for stuff that seems obviously wrong, but has important symbolic value. And, like, I don't know. When I was younger, I would have, like, been like, oh, who's thinking cares about symbolism? We need, like, the truth and facts and all of that. And yes, the truth and facts are critical and essential and not to be taken lightly or abused. But if you want to actually communicate with people, you need to communicate true things through symbols and snappy communications. And, like, nuance is essential, and frankly, something we need to all be getting better at is figure out how to deliver nuanced things in, like, approachable ways. Because you're not going to make people more, like, everyone's decrying, like, the death of focus or whatever, and it's like, sure, whatever, but, like, you're not going to make people more focused. You're just going to make people, like, less likely to listen to you and more likely to listen to garbage if you insist on going into full detail and everything. And so, like, figuring out how to deliver an important concept without all of the context, but with still truth and, like, actuality is important. And also stinking hard. I'm not sure there's a way to do it, truthfully. Like, a lot of things require nuance, and that is just simply the way of it. And, like, nuance is a wonderful thing, but it's not how you get people in the door. It's how you keep them once you get them in the door. And once they really are able to think about it. And it's also, you know, how you actually get to reality. Stinking... Nuance is where the truth lies. It's almost never in, like, a polar position. And that's not just a political statement. That's in, like, almost every part of life. Alright, see, that's not really how that fabric ought to move. Yeah, okay, we'll come back to it later. See. They really ought to follow the actual shape of the arm for the top part, and then, like, dangle down a little bit, and then follow the shape of this arm for this part. Which, also not doing. Okay, yeah, let's maybe... Oops, no, I wanted that line, not these ones. There we go. Don't go for perfection, just go for, like, looks solid. Like, it doesn't have to be perfectly refined, but it should look finished. Is my hope, anyway. Now let's see if I can actually capture these contours in a halfway meaningful way. That one's coming from up there. It really ought to be, like... I'm accounting for, like, a little bit of sway and movement. It ought to be something more like this. But not with that tangent. We don't want that connecting at exactly the same intersection, or else it will get confusing. And depth will go bye-bye. And I like depth. It's important. Or like nuance. Well, in any case. And I'm gonna just try... The challenge for me is always, like, once the fabric hits the floor and sort of how it's going to ruffle with that. I'm not so good at that. Let's see. I gotta stop accidentally moving the canvas. It's already been, like, almost biting me. And it's something I need to be slightly more wary of. It's going to bite me quite badly at some point if I'm not careful. Smooth edge doesn't look like it's holding its own weight. It just looks like it's a casual flow is what we need there. A little bit coming off of that. There we go. Maybe something like that. not at all confident on some of those lines down there. But it's not terrible. This, however, that tangent's bad. I need to work on that. And we'll get the hands, of course. What if I bring that in more? Just tangent it like there. I just need it so the hand doesn't look like it's the side of the body. Because this looks like it's giving a belly here. Which isn't the end of the world, but it's not the intended appearance, and I want this to be, you know, somewhat intentional in how I'm doing it. Because the other option is to, like, go all the way like that. That's better. It's not perfect, but it's better. This line in particular, like, was causing some confusion there too. And I think once we get the hand in and we sort of have stuff properly emanating from it, it will be better. But I don't want to get too carried away on those lines right now, so... Down here, liking some of that, but not the way that particular line has turned out. Let's see, we'll sort of... Ooh, that'll give it a little depth if we get, like, the arc there. Then, like, a separate kind of arc there. Like, not fully in contrast with this outer edge, because we, you know, need... Well, actually, maybe. Okay, I kind of like that. Got leg there, leg over there. This one is kind of, like, folding in a different way. And we can get kind of a crease in there for that, too. Does look a little bit weirdly like a shoe, though. I have to work on that. Yeah, it's maybe a little out of place, but it's kind of fun. I do think I may need to, like, widen its footprint a little bit, so to speak. Ooh, funny enough to try to make it look less like a foot. Okay. No, it's something. It's not a focal point, it's not a high priority. We'll think about it later. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and try to translate some of these details in here. We'll probably do a lot more of the face using light and shadows than we do with lines. Just, like, we'll see how well that can work, perhaps. Actually, there was one fun bit of eyeshadow in Baldur's Gate. Like this, or was it like... Yeah, it's more like this. There we go. That would look almost disarmingly friendly if it weren't for the context. That's a fun little snide sneer. Okay. This eye is kind of falling a little too low, though. It looked like it was melting off the face. Let's see if that is better. May also just be that the pupil doesn't look... There we go, that's better. Now the pupil looks like it's going the same way too. But it still looks like her focal point is somewhere over there. The eyebrow that's causing that? Like, what's causing that? I feel like it is. I feel like maybe the eyebrows are too high or too off center. Interesting. Or maybe it's this piece here. Still doesn't exactly look like she's looking down at us, but it's a, you know, a start. You know, it's one version. Let's maybe try a different version. I always manage to grab the little focal point and not the actual piece. Every single time. Keeping this in mind, could have also been like nose angle perspective was a little off. There's so many stinking things. And it could have been the fact that this is all still slightly too high up. Because this is the brow line. Well, that does look like it's looking at the viewer at least, although it certainly doesn't look like a face that matches the texture of the rest of things. So we'll see how that goes. Funky face. Funky face, I guess. I meant to have an F there. I'm just gonna dunk that somewhere down. Okay. And the face feels like a little too far off to the left, and it's not curving with the shape of the head. So like, there's still some stuff to work on there, but not an immediate problem. I'd rather work on some other stuff first in the moment. Such as hands and bird. This is not really going to do for a hand, you know? I'd expect to be seeing, like, I don't know, fingers. Probably like, we could do that thing where they're all combined and then you get like the pinky finger that's like kind of further down and not as far out. Blocked by the edge. But of course that's without any sort of reference and the proportions are off. Let's think about like how an actual hand looks, yeah? Got like triangle, kind of the palm, fingers, which again I'm gonna cheat and kind of merge two of them, but they still need to be like angled right. And you've got the other one that's like not as far. Connects somewhere like this. Implied thumb is implied. That kind of arcs up and goes up to hand. All of that ought to arc with the hand rather than against it. Okay, that's still stinking terrible. Holy cow, I'm just looking in a mirror at this point. Like, come on, I'm not wasting my time with that. Okay, apparently. It's not as far off as it felt like it was. We're at a 7 right now. Let's just do a brief 250 and nuke both of those. Whoops, nope, not those lines. Forgot those were a part of it. Racer was supposed to be a 7. The pen is still supposed to be at like 25 or 30. Hey. I'd like to have her primary line work sorted out before the turn of the hour when we take our pause, and then we can focus on the fun stuff, like the bird for like a little bit, maybe the background skeletons, but also like shading and lighting and such, which is always a joy. That was the wrong button entirely. My bad. And don't anyone let me forget that I've got a better version of the bird on like the pose layer. Although it's still looking a little janky as I look at it closer, but it's better. Okay, let's see. Oh, cool. GeForce Game Ready driver. I don't want that, but okay. I mean, it's probably fine, but don't know why you're offering it to me now of all times. Okay, let's look at this hand then. We'll come back to the other one for a second, or in a second. I assume most of the hand is actually covered with the sleeve. And that we're seeing fingers primarily. Well, I guess we could have a little of the hand coming out there. Alright, so the first one we're going to see is the pinky finger. Then it's going to be the other ones kind of curled in. If they're just being kind of casual about it. Might see a thumb back there. What am I doing? I've got that a little backwards. Not like fully backwards, but a bit backwards. Let's clear some of these out. We'll have another go at that. So, you're standing there dangling your hand there. Yeah, the pinky finger is going to be like the notable one here. But it's like the first one on the inside. And the others are all after it. Rough shape blocking. And the thumb might be visible like over here. Gold from this direction. Okay, well that's where the fingers go, but really not how we're gonna draw them. So let me once again snatch something from this layer. Oop. Do this one real quick. We'll get back on our main layer. Clean up a few odds and ends. Rename this. Okay. That top of the hour goal is looking less and less likely, but that's okay. Checking references real quick. I've got a whole bunch of like random Google image references that I'm trying to build off of here for like outfit and hands and bird and stuff. Okay, that's interesting. Huh. Okay. Well then. Let's we'll do some casual skeleton bones on this. Nothing, again, not going for crazy detail on here, we're just trying to get the vibe of it. Sort of just like at the end. And we'll just kind of rinse and repeat for the ones behind it. Various levels of detail, of course. Guess that one ought to be a little longer. Fine, fine. The pinky finger won't be the longest one after all. I'm biased towards pinky fingers, they're fun. Not really sure what they're fun for other than just like I have an affinity for them because as a kid I got a bunch of my hands stuck in those like finger trap toys and the pinky one was the one I was easily able to get out. So I was like, hey, favorite finger now. Likewise, thumb was nemesis for a long time. But I don't know, I feel like everyone has like funky little idiosyncrasies as a kid. That's kind of part of the fun of being a kid, really. That you can just do that stuff. And like you're exploring the world and it's all new, so it's like exciting. But like, I don't know, like I remember like I took my favorite number very seriously. Because I had favorites, but I also had numbers that I hated. And it's not like, oh, lucky number or whatever. It's that I thought it was a bad number and didn't like it and didn't want to be around it. And I chose very poorly, because as a kid, my least favorite numbers were like 4 and 8, which show up, I mean, all numbers show up a lot, but like the nice round even numbers show up in a lot of patterns and stuff. Like spokes in a car tire sometimes and stuff like that. Although actually I think car tires have a very specific, bad example. But the point is, like, I got so hung up on those. And for the life of me, I don't know why. Just, it was a thing. And if it's a thing that you can have an opinion on, then as a human, by golly, we're going to try to have an opinion on it. From a very young age. That was not the right button. Although it did technically zoom out, it was not the zoom out that I wanted. Okay, that's actually kind of cool looking in its own way. Not entirely, like a little more focal point than I wanted, but it actually kind of works. Might shrink it, might not. Debating, let's try. Like, not like a ton, but just like a bit. Oh yeah, that's better. And with that sorted out, it's time to bring this line back a little bit. There we go. Invisible behind the fingers. As it should be. Okay. Okay, good. Found the layer that was on right away. Awesome. Well, then the two main things I want to sort out with her before we take our break are, obviously, face I'd like to do a little more with. There's lots of good options there. And then the other hand, of course. I'm thinking that this probably ought to be not nearly as visible as it is there. just because you think about how it's going to get pressed against the rest of the outfit. From the hand being here, like, some of that's going to be wrapped around back, at least until the end, when it can drape in front, perhaps. With some creases, of course. And yes, the shape of this should probably account for, you know, lack of flesh and skin and all that jazz. But, eh. Okay, trying to think about and pose like this. Okay, That still gonna kind of arc down a little bit, actually. Well, that's gonna be too far forward. So perhaps the cloak is like a little further up on this hand, and we're just getting 2 points of the fingers. That feels reasonable. But let's operate on that assumption. These are turning kind of claw-like too, which, why not? Cleric's design has never been all that hard in stone. I made an interesting version of Claire. May have to draw that one sometime too. I tried finding like a pre-made mini, like one of the D&D minis. You know, I'm sure if you spent much time with D&D, you've probably run into them. They're easy enough to find in all sorts of places. Game shops and such. And you can like paint them and whatnot. And so I made one of Claire that was like based on a Necromancer, but obviously I couldn't really get the medical aspect in there too well. So like, that part didn't really translate through. It ended up being very funny because she's actually got a, in hindsight, well, it's not quite a Red Cross cloak. It's a red cloak with crossed sickles over the back of it that are white. So it looks a little like a terrible version of the flag of Switzerland. But she's got like a medic bag and a mace, and it's a funny character, but it is still like not really quite the right vibe. But I do kind of want it as a character in its own right. It might actually work better as like a real D&D character, just a very like rough necromancer. He's just like, hey, this is what it is. Oh, thank heavens, I thought I'd been on that layer the whole time. Okay. I'm worried I've been on hand ref the whole time. Where'd the other layers go? Weren't there more? Ah, crud. What happened? Did I merge hand ref with the main layer by accident while I wasn't paying attention? How the heck did I manage to do that? Okay, good. That one is still... Oh, the face looks like it changes the... I should not do that. Sorry, epilepsy warning. The face looks like it changes directions, like, when I do this. It's all because of the eyebrow that's visible over the cloak, I think. Boom, now it's looking that way. Without that little edge, it's looking towards us. Sort of. We'll see. But in any case, this is apparently the line work layer now. Don't know how this has happened. But I'm just gonna go clean out our hand ref because we don't need it anymore. Yeah, no, we definitely merged those layers because it kept the opacity of the other layer on here. That's wild. I mean, fortunately not the worst thing to fix, especially not with vectors, but like, wow. How on earth did we manage that? I don't know, I'm kind of in the zone. It's quiet and calm, and I'm liking it. This one's a good song. Passpartout has a lot of good music, but this is one of my favorites whenever it pops up on the stream. There's some that are a little bit bouncier that are good for certain moods, but they're not really what I'm looking for a lot of the times while I'm streaming. But this one is just always nice. Okay. And we don't need the focal point there either. Or that particular crease, given that there will be other ones. Okay. And that needs to like swerve out a little more. Jeepers, brush got set to the wrong size. Just to make it look like it's actually coming from where the hand is gripping. Once again, them tension points, not focal points, tension. I mean, it doesn't make that much of a difference. Functionally the same meaning in this case. Okay, so rather than like having very, like this bizarre clear lineation boundary there of like torso and not torso, let's have some of these like continue through a little bit, shall we? Like that one ought to be coming from there, and we ought to like have like some squiggles, like tension coming from this point. Much like we'll need to do with the crow. But the general vibe of the fabric, though, doesn't have to follow that. This one seems like it'd be a decent candidate for simplifying that a little bit, not going too crazy on it. And like having one that veers this way. It's been too long since I've done fabric like this too. I'm getting rusty. Looks like she's summoning power in that hand. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens when we get light and shadow in there. Let me lower that a little too. Although we've got the contrapposto thing going, and we may as well kind of... it's noticeable. Okay. I don't necessarily want that to have stiffness to it, but it'd be nice if it had like a little texture. Whatever. We're sort of reaching that phase where I want to nitpick stuff to make it really good, but I also want to get this finished. Like this stage of it finished so we can move on to the next stage. I should clarify. And I'm inclined to go for still like a mostly human face on this, but like we'll see. Because I do want skeleton faces in some places in it, just not there. Okay. And in any case, I think that we actually need like a little more foliage or some such going on here. This could be the bottom of the fabric itself, actually. But then we just need these creases to be like a little more... Like I like the kind of alternating creases, but we need them a little more out. And I immediately forgot how they work, so let's take a look at it real quick. Okay. Okay, so that's literally like... This is not complicated. Self. Yeah, there's like a little texture in there that complicates it a bit, but... Like nothing wild. Why not just scooch that out a little bit, shall we? I got a little of the stuff in here. Actually get that going, because both the Monty Python and the Tanith reference... I hate that I don't have real references for this. I mean, they're technically real references, but they're not serious references. I'm working with what we've got. But both of them have that component like coming all the way out. Like clearly part of the goal is to obstruct like this whole area. So I'm trying to think how we want this, but look, nope, not that. I'd like that piece to stay, actually. Thank you. There we go. All that. Just try to get rid of... There we go. Okay. That's the neck, like, a little more sorted out. I guess we can still keep this, like, broader, almost bib-like structure going. There we go. Just had to do it in 2 strokes. That's fine. I guess it would probably be better if it doesn't actually, like, exactly tangent with that. So... add a little character to it. Bruce, that's a throwback to some of my early model painting days where I would just put a stinking, like, little triangle in the corner of every bit of fabric I could because it felt like it needed some texture and I wasn't sure what texture to give it. I was like, I can't do precise painting, triangle. Because I had neither the technique nor the brushes to do, like, really clean painting edges and, like, small details. So, like, it wasn't an option, so I had to make do with what I could. Okay. Part of me that wants to have, like, a little, like, veil-y bit going over on this edge, too. That might be too much. Because it looks a bit like hair. You could always... just really lean into it. Get that one over a little bit. Okay, yeah, that kind of works actually. Not really, those are the same line. Okay, or whatever. Scoot. Some of those loose edges. We haven't solved the face itself, though. Time's a burnin'. The clock is ticking. That said, I am quite liking how Claire is turning out. This is proving to be something of a fun design. I may, like, lean into the lean a little more here. Like, there we go. Keep on going until you find the line you're actually looking for. Yeah. And we can, like... might be able to arc this in, like, a little more, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it gives good contrast. Let's do that. Still not the strongest contrast, but whoa, okay. Let's not do that, however. Okay. Okay, yeah, Claire's design is becoming fun. Cool, 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 cool. I think that's going, like, a little too high. Okay, so now really let's focus on the face. Okay, let's, once again, I'm just gonna scoot the existing face out of the way and have another go at it. I like the nose on this one. It's well defined, but the rest is still too kind of vague and floaty and not apt for this. We've got the head. Could even have like a little more of that veil bit, like the inner curtain. Whoops, don't want that as a razor, sorry. Just a little more of it over here. I can see that little line there. Scoot that out of the way. Got the head. Yeah, it feels like gravity ought to pull that one like more like this. Likewise with this one, it ought to be getting pulled from the other direction if we're gonna have it there. Okay. Okay. Just sinking layers on that. We've got our head here. I can make fairly faint, since we don't have the other layer behind it now. And this is the brow ridge, so we're gonna have eyebrows, they ought to be here. The actual shape of the head is going to be somewhat indented, but we're not gonna be able to show that with the way. We could always like semi-represent it by arcing this differently, but it's not going to be a one-to-one. Like, we're not actually gonna be able to see the edge there. Okay. Anyway, not worrying about that. Worrying about this. How are we going to add shape and depth to the face? I don't want it to look malicious, I just want it to look confident. The face, I mean. Not trying to refer to Claire as an it. Okay, what's the old trick? Fine. Doesn't read well on full view. I mean, almost no view of these eyes is going to. You know what? Why don't we go for something simpler on the eyes? But we ended up having to do Assault, and it worked out pretty well on her ref. Let's just, thinking like, go basic. Problem is, I'm gonna try to erase a chunk of it. Oh, okay. Don't know how that's working, but okay. Try to keep reasonable nose distance on this. And on these. That looks like an open mouth now. Isn't what I want. I don't like that. A little too much. Nah, let's not go with that. We can kind of leave it at that for now. But guess if I really wanted this, like, oh, that's part of the issue is I'm doing that smirk, but like the smirk is so off center. I don't think that's going to convey well. It's not the worst, I suppose. I don't know. I don't want to spend all day on the face texture, but like, on the other hand, faces are important. But on the other hand, like stinking... Ugh. Once again, let's just... keeping our backups. Trying to figure out how to get a smirk. Alright, yes. Or like a sneer, even. And I guess there's always that kind of face. But I don't think that's what we want. That actually kind of works weirdly. Yeah, that actually really kind of works. Okay. Yeah, let's leave it at that for now, and we will... I mean, we can try to make it a little more gaunt, I suppose, but... I don't know that that's actually going to get us where we want to go. So rather than worrying about that... Whew, let's pull these onto a different layer. I'm going to put them under Funky Face, and then I'll just merge the two. What happened to Funky Face? I think a lot of stuff happened without my noticing. And I was just like absent-mindedly tapping, and then it's just gone. Which is on me, truthfully. Why is nothing in this visible? Where'd they go? Oh, it's because it's behind this. Okay, that explains some things. Good. Good. Okay, so I just moved that above some... Okay, cool. Cool! Well then, next time we will come back. We will probably draw the bird real quick. And, then... I think it will be time to maybe do some shading and like shadows and colors and all the fun stuff. So, take a few minutes, get some water, stand up, stretch, all that jazz. That stuff what needs doing because humans gotta not like die. Maybe we should use Claire's revival instead after all. But in any case, we'll do a bit of that, and then in just a couple minutes we will be back. So I will see y'all in just a few. Howdies and salutations, y'all! We are back once again, and we're gonna continue on this real quick, picking up where we left off. First off, I looked up a face reference. I don't know who this person is. In any case, I highly doubt it's going to be remotely reminiscent of their actual appearance. But, I'm just gonna take... Whoops, that's the wrong layer. That's kind of ominous in its own right. But I'm just going to use them as sort of a rough reference here. I just googled, like, for a certain face shape and all that jazz. So, I have no stinking clue who this is. Nah. The center line's always what does it. Like, makes those end up looking bad. But the problem is that looks like Control-Alt-Delete, which I also don't want. Oops, too much erasing. Too much erasing. Not really better, is it? Honestly, I think the only thing that really bugged me about the other one, because the level of realism isn't, like, I'm fine with it being kind of cartoony, the whole deal's, like, a little bit stylized. The only thing I really didn't like is the, like, face shape, I think, and perhaps the way the face sits in it, because, like, it's definitely, like, a little too far back. Well, we could always just, like, mess with that. Okay, well, maybe that works. Not like it looks less cartoony, but it does look a little more, like, proportionally valid. And I know it's a fudge to just bring this over, but, like, thinking... Clearly, the rotation of the head, the face isn't quite matching the head despite my roughed-in guidance lines, so let's just... not worry about that too much. Or perhaps, like, this just needed to follow the rotation. But regardless, it's ended up being something of an interesting look. And, oops, let's not go all in on that. Let's just go, like, a little more, so it's consistent. On layer 1. Why is it selected too? Oh, it's because I'm pressing the wrong button. I don't know what D does as a key. I mean, presumably duplicate, but, like, I don't know. Okay. That looks better, and kind of the sharper edges kind of works better for Claire anyway, so... Cool, there's Claire. We'll just do 2 layers. We'll go with that spelling, why not? Lines... elements, and I do not want to spend much time on this at all, I'll be honest. Let's grab our pose reference here. And this was the... Damn it, why like that? Why? How did I end up on that tool? Oh, whatever. This is really the better bird? Alright, well, amazing how much your opinion on things can change. Just a little bit of time. But let's, try to do a slightly cleaner bird. Obviously that one was meant to be sketchy, we were just roughing in an idea. But I'd like to get this a little more properly done. Of course, one option we have also is to go, like, either partially or fully Skelly with this bird too, which is not a bad option, truthfully. And I've got a kind of decent ref for that here. By kind of decent, I do mean that I googled how, like, bird skeletons look a little bit before stream, and then I also have one of those, like, Halloween decorations that's wildly inaccurate, but, are fun. That I'm going to make use of for the parts that semi-match reality. We'll have to adjust the grabby lines, of course. Okay, hold on, the talons are definitely still going to be... Let me find my reference again. Yep. Yeah, the talons are basically the same. That's what I thought. Be a little silly if those were bone too, wouldn't it? Or, like, separate anyway from the other bone. I mean, there's obviously some that's different, but, like... not noticeable important details, particularly. We'll make that like a little shorter and then get like the big talon going in there. Like, yeah, actually those creases aren't the worst. It's just that the fabric would kind of pull away from it too. Let's see. Okay. Got a sort of... I'm still gonna keep like the feathers on the back, just not like the chest and such. Be kind of an interesting deal. Okay. Ought to pull up the bird refs from yesterday too. Because this is getting a little muddled. I'm on the eraser now. Get like a little bit of a glow going from in there. Now we can still have this. We'll get that little bump and still get the beady eye. Sorry, I realize I'm going a little quiet there. I'm just like kind of in the zone trying to figure this one out, so let's mix things up. I'll move my headset to the other side of my ears so that the whole audio setup in here feels different and draws my attention. That is definitely distracting. This was a bad choice, but that's okay. We'll just do like a simple wing, honestly. Anything overly complicated is just going to cause confusion. Can still be pointy though. Okay. This one, make sure we clear out any weird stray lines. Some of these tail feathers that aren't quite working the way I'd like them to. Let's see. Actually, give me half a second. I'm going to pull out a reference real quick. mean, I was thinking I go to the park and draw birds sometimes. Like, surely I should use an actual stinking, even if it's not a perfect reference, be a good thing to work with. Better than what I've been doing. It also means I'm getting a little too caught up on the bird, which is taking up disproportionate amounts of time. Okay, let's try... Ah, okay, let's try the wing arcing back. Yes, that's better, that's better. I knew something was off about it. I'm trying to figure out why it looked like a stinking penguin. Obviously, penguins are also birds, and so that wouldn't have been, strictly speaking, wrong, but also not what I was aiming for. Whoops, I still want the bird's head, though. So I am going to keep some body feathers going in here, just for the sake of not having to draw all of those bird bones. There we go. That's kind of a fun little bird design shape thingamadoohickey. Let's hide the pose layer, see if this functions on its own. Oh, it's creepy as all get out, so I guess to an extent, yes. Fill in some of these spots, make these bones a little more like bone-like, but otherwise, maybe imply some sort of border there. Sake of visibility. I've still got some unfinished lines on Claire, but we're just gonna deal with it. Time challenge. Keeping moving. Semi-timed challenge. Timed by personal life, not by like a literal timer. Okay. We got Tanith. It's not Tanith, Technabbit, it's Claire, but like, okay, so we may need to work on this design so it's not too Tanith-y at some point, but that is not a today thing. Okay, let's get another layer in here. Got the lines above it. This will be our base, where I'm just going to get a color and fill the whole darn thing in so that we have something to work with. Good. Skeletons is really great for making it easy to color fill here. That's fine though. This is also the fun phase where... Actually, I don't want to do that part. But yeah, this is the fun phase where we get to see exactly how well I've closed my lines, and how well the tool's auto-close works, because I know some of those were not fully closed, and it's actually handled them pretty well still. I'm always impressed. It does better than I expect, pretty consistently. I'm gonna hide that head reference too, just... Only working with final lines at this point. I need a considerably bigger brush to do some patch-in work here. Okay, maybe not quite that big. Catch some of those loose ends that happen in the particularly craggly places. Some of these are still best handled with the fill bucket, most likely. Also a good chance to catch any other stray lines on the silhouette, because those are going to be more noticeable generally. I'll make sure that I'm not bleeding actually critical lines. Cool, good enough. Connecting some lines and cleaning up some loose ends would be a smart thing to do for a person who has more time. I shouldn't let like the time limit like be something I complain about. I'm like excusing way too much stuff on it. The point is just that like I want to like keep moving. It's not like the time limit is a bad thing that I'm fighting against or whatever. It's just that I both want to and need to get a move on. So I'm basically just verbally reminding myself of that fact. Heck nabbit. Okay, come on. Oh. I set my phone down too close to my keyboard last time I used it as a ref. This is semi an excuse, but it's also true. And so reaching my hand over it was causing me to miss way more than I usually do. And I usually still miss a lot, so that's bad. Actually, okay, you know what we are going to do? We're going to take like 2 minutes. Where's our connect vector lines? We're going to take 2 minutes, and we're just going to do a little bit of line edge cleanup here. There's a few things that could benefit from it. Just clearing out loose ends, some of them. It won't get all of them, but it'll get some of them. And it just smooths things out a little bit when we do this. And it works, which is not always. Probably go considerably smaller on this one. Simplify. Yeah, not that one. Need to keep that curve. That. Wanting a smoother edge? Perfect. Whatever's happening there. Okay. Just, it's not perfect. But it should be a little better. Okay, now let's get this base color back in here. Which, because our lines are lighter, then it ends up looking kind of ghostly, which isn't entirely what I want. How do we want to do this? Because basically we're going to not do much with the base color, we're going to do a lot with the shadows. But I do think that I'm going to want to... Whoops, that was the wrong one. I'm going to want to fill this in with a brighter color rather than the darker one. Claire herself will be very bold and just have lots of shadows. This bird, on the other hand, probably not be. And then, of course, we can worry about like some of the details around the face and stuff. Most of that, again, will be shadowy. We can make the face even brighter if we want. Like, really lean into, like, hyper pale. Ominously so, in fact. I can go like a little darker on this too. It could be a different material from the rest. I kind of like that as an idea. Bones, of course, though, should be completely pale white. I'm not going to worry too much about like staying exactly within the lines here. Again, this is just getting stuff down. Maybe her face ought to be like a slightly warmer color then, just to contrast the almost the ominously bone white. So that's the line color, so of course it's not going to show up well on that. We'll deal with that later. Okay. Then, got the lines. These lines, I probably ought to just clip a layer or two real quick and make them much darker. Just to fit the bird. Oops, I don't want to get the shadows or the creases with that bird itself. Okay. Okay. Bird line recolor, I'll say. And then I'm going to do shadows on Claire, and then we'll think about background elements and such once we have the shadows on Claire. The catch being... Oh, this is interesting. Okay. I'm actually going to do... You want to do the glow first or the shadows first? Glow first or shadows? shadows first. But I need to know where the light's coming from, because we got one singular light source in this. And then we're going to have some pretty bold shadows, even on Claire's outfit. Not quite as bold as Mikkel, mind, but fairly dark. That'll do. Okay, because the light source, our light source, is going to be the inside of this bird. Like, glowing somewhere in there. Obviously that won't be there at the end of the final version, but it'll do for now. But that means that our shadow layer, which I'd really like to be able to clip to Tan at the... Dagnabbit, to Claire! Clip to Claire if I could. Also, this ought to be under the line work in any case. So I can totally clip it to... Yes, to Claire. It just won't... The bird one won't show up. Okay, well that doesn't... Flipped it to the lines instead of the base. Okay, good. We still get a little bird from that then. Alright, let's go to 70. Like a little bit on this. But then obviously inside there is going to be very shadowy, and we'll deal with degrees of shadow later, of course, but... Well, at least figure out where some shadows ought to be first. Okay. Not even backlit, so it'll just be that shadow. This will actually have a little bit of light. We might see it. I don't think we're going to see any shadow there. We are going to see some more on this side of it. Ah, and I see the base color needs to fill in here real quick, too. There we go. Now I've got our shadows. Going under there. Not that that ought to cast too much, it's just that the glow happens to be at just the right angle for it. Like a little bit in here. And increasingly more coming around the backside here, because this one's away from the glow. We get like all of this will be in shadow. Pretty much all of this will be in shadow too. And like get a kind of implied crease here going. Okay. Yeah, not too much on the top there. Well, no, that's good texture though, but not realistic texture, it's good texture. Okay. I'll say that it even arcs pretty much to the end. Like a little part of that that's catching the glow still, but not this interior bit. Even though I guess it technically could. I'd like to be able to take a little more time with shading than this and really think it through. We'll start with this, and then if anything looks like noticeably off, we will tweak it. I don't know why I'm cleaning this one, because that definitely will get shaded later, but just for the sake of knowing that that's not a final shadow, it's good to have. Okay, let's see. Just use the fill tool on this at this point, but at this point I'm just going to finish it, but I should have earlier on used the fill tool. Okay. Capture where that glow is going to hit and where it won't. Yeah, like just the faintest little bit in there. Not much, but a little. This crease will, of course, have a bit of shadow to it. Not all the way up, but some distance. Always funny when I accidentally just grab stinking everything. Move the whole layer. Get some fun effects with it if you're doing it intentionally, but when it's not on purpose, it's just like, well, yes, we're going over here now. That's going to just kind of like casually increase out as we get some distance. Actually, this whole arm ought to be like casting a bit of a shadow, shouldn't it? That'll be kind of fun. The hand doesn't necessarily need a shadow, but we may add one in a bit. Not that it wouldn't have a shadow, but just it'd be a cool magical effect if it didn't. Okay. Like, pretty quick after that, though. Like, this is just not going to be getting much of the glow regardless. Like, there'll be some areas that, like, pick up a bit of it, like, for a distance. Sort of like we saw with Mikola, really. This one is semi-reminiscent of Mikola, ultimately. And some of the shading and ideas and concepts and all of that. Just trying to clarify where the shadows ought to be at this point. I was definitely going to get all inside of that one. But we can once again say that it hasn't, that there's like little parts on the top that are still catching it. Of course, as we get down here, it gets a little fuzzy. I'll have a little shadow to it. Let's just fill this in and see where it takes us. After a point, and I think this is the specific point, like we're really not going to have a whole lot of highlighted spots at all. What's the glow actually going to be hitting? There. It'll catch some edges, sure. I want to make sure that like some of these creases that are pretty well defined are actually getting their due of light, but at some point there's just not going to be that much that hits anymore. We'll get these really cool swirls of shadow, basically. Just scribbling these in real quick, just to rough them in, and then we'll do a more proper approach to that in a minute. Maybe, unless I finish scribbling it all in first. Okay. Like we really wouldn't be able to see any shadow back there on that one at all, but we will see some shadow on these. Not that there wouldn't be shadow if you get deep enough in there, but it's that the glow is going to hit deeper than our field of view will, so we won't actually see any of the shadow. I might be able to get a little bit then, no, but that one really is just like all super in view of the glow. So okay. I'm going with that. We'll kinda keep that going with this piece too. going on there. That's fine. Not getting too much shadow going on in these parts, which is also fine. A little bit on some of these, mayhaps. But, like, it's just a really unusual light source because a lot of the areas that I normally would assume, like, oh, that's where a shadow ought to go, just don't have one. Let's see, that's probably not lined up quite right, but it's good enough. Glow gonna hit that. Is the glow gonna hit these? It'll hit, like, the edge of that going down a ways. But then, like, beyond that, no. Okay, then I'll just undo this a little bit if I want it so much. But this is going to be, for the most part, filled in. Keep saying we're going to use the fill tool, and we will once I, like, clarify where the top of all of the highlights are going to be. But, like, just don't know yet. Let's see. There's these two. Okay. Let's try the fill tool down here then. Clean up some of the edges that inevitably forms, but at least gives us a better sense of our block and where we can maybe add additional glows if we need. For example, in areas that don't read very well, like this whole mess right here. For starters, let's take a slightly smaller eraser, clean up the actual skeleton hands. We will put shadows on those, but they will not be this dark. Accidentally switch the actual eraser as opposed to just drawing with transparency. Functionally same results, however, so that's fine. Okay, let's think about how these shadows are actually going to be dealt with, however. These highlights, rather. Glow happening, hand happening. Not gonna worry about it too much, it's just sort of there. And I feel like this is really, like, only going to catch that part. We're not going to catch the whole deal. And we might get some, like, smaller ones, like, along here. But those don't really line up with the hand well enough to want to draw attention to them anyway, so, like, eh. And then this one, maybe it would catch it, but looks so much better if we have, like, a clear edge on this. Which, by the way, why would this side of it even be, like, way more of this? This ought to be in shadow. But yeah, bit from the top, sure. But like this and like all of this part should not be. Honestly, I feel like even that bit shouldn't be. We'll allow this little part, but like even less. But then, like, more over here. Go a little further on that side of the divide than it does on this side. Okay. If I toss the lines for a second, does this still read in a coherent way? The upper part, actually, yeah, pretty well. Like, this all, pretty happy with that. This part, too, the hand's gonna need a little bit, but, you know, that is what it is. As we get down, though, like, this part also, yes, this should have a little more along the edge, probably, and these, I think, maybe shouldn't. This one I'm also, like, questioning. I'm feeling like maybe not. But, like, we lose a lot of depth when we lose that one. So, I don't know, it feels like it's important enough to try to shoehorn in, but, like, maybe shrink it a little bit. And that one provides a little contrast, I guess. Maybe it's better without it. It's better without it, I'm pretty sure. This one is questionable, but like, it could happen, so like, maybe. These ones, though, feel like they're not really plausible. Whereas stuff that's more over here feels like it actually ought to be getting, like, a little more of the glow. Probably ought to be tracing along the tops of those instead of the bottom, but... Oops. Oh, I don't know what that was about. Suddenly getting the strong urge to save, because seeing a little scroll wheel like that is always ominous. It has been a hot minute. Okay, and then we'll get like some shadows like underneath some of these. It feels like it ought to etch like a lot of this one, actually. And that might give us our central definition better than the other one did. Not like all the way up, though. Okay, let's see. Oh, hey, Galactic! Oh, 2 days in a row! Good to see you! How was your stream going? We're still working on Witchtober, of course. This one's turning out quite ominous, which is fun. Ooh, okay. Sorry, I've been having, like... The controls have been a little twitchy lately. Oh, hello, Gingilux. Welcome. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Thank you for dropping in with the raid. Hope you enjoyed Galactic's stream. Always a fun time over there. Oh, and thank you for the follow, too. Doing a makeup Sim stream. Had a teen get arrested? I mean, that's just par for the course for Sims, but still. I've been thinking, I need to go back and do the one I played as a kid. I never played a lot of real Sims, but I played a lot of like My Sims and My Sims Kingdom and like some of those. And like, oh jeepers, I ought to go back and do a playthrough of those. They're always a hoot. Oh no, their sim died. Uh-oh. Well, I mean, I guess that's not really... also par for the course for Sims. Did you at least romance the Grim Reaper? Okay, okay. I see we're getting a couple of different stories in chat here now. Competing accounts. We'll have to bring in a detective. Yet. Yeah, I guess technically death comes for everyone, and that's especially true in The Sims. Where death seems to be more than willing to just, like, show up to your wedding if you invite them. Oh no. Prom got a little too exciting, I see. I almost got caught in a tornado on the way to my actual prom. That was exciting. And by exciting, I mean terrible. Frankly, we should have held off and probably not gone. Because the storm we drove through was really stupid to drive through. But it cleared by the time we got there. It was just during the commute. So, like, I don't know. It was worth it. But yeesh. Yeah, fun times. But I mean, I don't know. Tornadoes are not crazy uncommon around here. Like, we know what to do to stay safe around them, which is basically just batten down the hatches and don't stand near open windows. And then do what you can. Build your house in a way that's a little more tornado resistant, which we all have to do. Yeah. I mean, Dallas had one go straight through town a couple years ago. Like 2 decades ago, Fort Worth had one. I know Houston gets a handful. San Antonio got one not long ago. Like, they happen. They just happen. I don't know. I feel like it's the same thing as, like, I'm sure folks in California are completely unfazed by earthquakes. Okay, good. But, like, an earthquake would freak me the heck out. But, like, I'm sure it's just the opposite for tornadoes, where we're just kind of used to it. It's like, it is what it is, you know? That's not to say that you can take them lightly. They're still very dangerous and can kill you. Does Texas have a tornado alley? Like, half the state is tornado alley. We're a giant stinking flat plains for a large chunk of it. So, big time. Big time, big time. We're not quite as bad as Oklahoma. I've got some friends up there, and as much as Texas always wants to brag about having more dramatic everything, I think Oklahoma does have us beat in tornadoes, because, sheesh. Their frequency is just absurd. But we get them. We definitely get them all over the place. I can't say all over. El Paso's far enough, like, into the mountains. I don't think they get them too often. But, you know, for the most part. Okay. And then I need bird shadows, too. Which are mostly going to consist of bird being very dark. Ooh, yeah, that is not where you want to be in a tornado alley. That is not ideal. Glad you were able to clear out of that area before anything came through. You definitely don't want to be messing with those. Okay, so now that we've got shadows... oh, actually, I wanted to add a little more, like, detail to the shadows up on this piece. Hold on, we've got that one. We'll go a little darker. Ooh, yeah. We keep a, stinking, because Texas does not have the reputation for having the best power grid, because we've insisted on keeping ours separate from the rest of the country for some reason. For reasons I do not fully understand, that's a thing that we've chosen to do. So we keep, like, a battery-powered radio that, like, just gets a couple of basic channels, including, like, the news forecasts. And we just keep it with our, like, tornado stash. That we keep in, like, a room without windows. That's just like, you know, if something comes up, if you hear the sirens, you just go to that room, you click on the radio, and you use that, because who knows what else will work or won't work, or we'll get hit by a tornado. Yeah, a little bit of emergency prep goes a long way, I have found. Yeah. Actually, one time I got to help teach a little, like, summer camp class thing, and it was advertised as a, like, zombie survival class, and it was, like, we did zombie, like, paint and all that fun stuff. But like, the other thing was it was also just general emergency prep advice, because so much of the stuff that's applicable to a zombie apocalypse scenario is also applicable to just anything. It's like, yeah, that would actually be good to have. You should bring that. So yeah, definitely grab that in your to-go bag. There's some that are not, like, I don't know, radios have been around long enough, and there's small, cheap ones that you don't need anything fancy for that, just something that'll do the job in a pinch, and, like, so you don't have to drop a lot of money on it, which is nice. But yeah, no, a bit of that, just some basic necessities. And you're set. Well, as set as you can be in a crisis. I mean, nothing's ever a given, but it's at least better. I'll add a little more shadow to that. I think I want to lean into that a little bit. The bird's light is coming at it. Kind of a weird spot, but that'll be okay. Okay, okie dokie. Oops, that one. I need to go refresh that stuff. It's one of those things where, like, it's been so long, like, I need to double check that, like, nothing has expired or gone bad or needs to be replaced or all that jazz. I need to go double check on mine again. Right. Cannot see the lines of the face, which are not amazing, but they'll do. But actually, what if we... Who needs face lines? Probably Claire. Yeah, it's a little silly. Faces, for the life of me. I can draw plenty of faces, but I can't draw them to fit the tone that I'm aiming for the life of me. But what if I stick to... dunk in some of those lines. Just like... getting a little bit of shadow going on here. And just define the face by that. Well, we'll deal with the actual, like, face lines later, of course. Like, this way we can sort of capture some of the form of it without... Yeah, it could always go, like, faceless or a skull, but, like, it is, like, an old D&D character, so I'm trying to stay semi-true to that design. Not that there was much of a design there. But the premise is that they're still basically human, even if they've got, obviously not fully human at this point. So I'm just going to scoot that out of the way. Okay, for the base layer, let's fill that in, and then for the shadow layer, we can start actually trying to, like, sort of sculpt a face with this. Light coming from below is actually going to be kind of an interesting proposition as far as, like, where the shadows are going to land, because we're almost going to end up with, like, cutesy, like, old doll cheekbone highlights, which is kind of funny. Probably not what I'm aiming for, but it's funny. Okay, wait, hold on, we can... This is on... Oh, jeepers, that's not at all on the right layer. Not that it matters a whole lot at this point, but... It matters a lot at this point. How did I do all of that on the stinking line layer? Scoot that. Go to the base layer like I said to do. Computer, please. Let's fill those in. And then we'll go to the shadow layer and actually have a better go at this. See where this lands us. In fact, somewhere still kind of ominous. Which is all that I really need. Again. Fun daily drawing challenge. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be semi-interpretable. Oops, don't want to lose that shadow. Go for a darker one on the neck here, that's fine. Where else is... We're gonna get like a little bit of shadow in like a few places. That just looks like happy eyes though, not there. Nope. Alright, I may just kind of let these blur together. Like a little hint that the nose is obscuring something there. Oh, jeepers. Yeah, don't burn yourself out on it. There's always so many to do. What if I just face shadows a little darker? Oh yeah, memes are fun and chill then. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna go put this one with the others. Oh, that didn't even sting it. Oh, right, because that's not wrong. We need to get the lines layer. Grab this, cut it. We'll hide that one. We'll put it down in the Funky Faces folder. Okay, there we go. Now, is the part where we get to add the really fun bit, if I can do it. I think I just add that in funky faces. Don't need that. Whatever. This part. Oh, and I should, where's the eraser? There we go. Clear out this little bit of glow from the exterior of the bird. That was just a useful reference point. Okay. Now this needs to be below the lines, but above everything else. And this will be our glow, basically. And we're going to actually use a little bit of color. I hope. Cool. Something that's like a little more bold and magical. Not quite so naturey. Kind of a lime greeny. That'll do. Oh yeah, then yeah, you got a solid foundation for that one then. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Like fairly low opacity on most of this. We'll want some amount in the crow's. We'll want the crow's like actual stomach glow to be fairly bright. Pretty much anywhere that's got light on it ought to have like a hint of glow on it. Just some areas will have more intensity than others. So actually what I ought to do is like map the glow here and then just go nuts. That doesn't look like an ominous glow. That looks like a happy... Well, actually, it's starting to get a little ominous. Ooh, especially on the under feathers of the bird. Okay, that part worked well. Yeah, I mean, that's a good swap. Making me think I ought to make the shadows darker, too. Okay, let's actually... Nah, because it's... Oh, right, the thing I can do. Tweak that a little bit. And then we just need to increase the intensity of the glow in a few places. And all that means is I add a layer here that clips. Yeah. Okay. I'll hide the glow for a second. I'm going to grab our sort of foundational color, and I'm going to grab something like something brighter than it. And let's see. Yeah, you never know what you're going to end up with on something like that. Fun though. Getting like a little more intense highlight. Plans for takeovers. Oh yeah. Oh man. Wattpad got really big around the same time that I wasn't doing a lot of art, so like I've seen so many stories from it in its heyday, but it feels like it's kind of slowed down lately. Which is a shame. It seemed like there was some cool stuff going on over there. Like every platform has these like funky ebbs and flows. You never know when it'll come back. I mean, stinking like Tumblr seems to be doing numbers again, which is actually kind of fun. I'm excited about that, but it's very funky. I have like folder section, and then they'll be kind of like. Ads after every chapter. Well, that would stink and do it too. The advertisements have gotten so aggressive lately. And not that. What I really ought to do is do this and then just do color. Something like a little more potentially ominous like that. Hey, that's really good actually. Holy cow. Dang, 1,000 views. Okay, what I really need to do is like get like a slightly more yellow one, I think. And fill any of these areas. Nope, that makes it look like a soft warm glow. That's not what I want. Opposite direction then. Let's go more blue. Worldly, perhaps. That's better. Oops, not that though. Applying all that stuff we learned after over the many stinking hours with Mikola. Which I was excited. Mikola got like 160 likes on Tumblr, which is very much a new record for me. Very excited about that. Or not likes, notes. So that's I'm still learning like Tumblr's parlance. I've seen plenty of memes from the site over the years, but like I didn't know all that much about how it works, so it's been kind of interesting learning that. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm Oh, hey Fox, how are you doing? Good to see you. Doing good, doing good. Thanks for dropping by. How'd you like Art Fight? Did it go well? Did it go, I mean, terribly? Like, I don't know. Hope I didn't sign you up for something terrible. But we had fun over here, at least. Dang, 20 attacks. Holy cow, you did better than I did. Awesome. That's actually awesome. Yeah, that's usually how that goes. Worth it, though, in my opinion. It's a lot of fun. Where's the other layer? Oh, right. Yeah, well, don't hurt yourself for Art Fight. It's a lot of fun, but you don't want to end up in the hospital from it. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you were able to drop back in again and say hi. I was thinking, what layer is that on? Oh, it is layer 4. So then... Oh, I needed a darker, I guess. Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no. I'm looking forward to it. And it sounds like from the news post, they got some of their, like, administrative hiccup sorted out. So hopefully it'll run a little more smoothly next year, too. Although I didn't really run into too many issues with it this year. Other than, as always, the first week and then the last 24 hours, the servers really struggle. That's just, that's how it goes. I got a stream on the last day. I'd already finished the last attack I was going to do, so I was like, you know what? Because I don't like trying to upload during that final crush. But it's fun to see what other folks are up to. And I caught a stream of someone who had done, I think, what was it? It was some horrendous number. I think 140 attacks. They had they had a very specific style of like Pokemon that they drew very well, and they just found everyone who did that kind and had done attacks on all of them. But they waited until the end to upload them, so it was like a 9-hour marathon stream of just uploading and adding the tags and details. And I was like, this can't be the best way to do this. But they seem to be enjoying it, so like, good for them, I guess. But wow. Yes, I was shocked. Oops, that was not. This color, this layer. There we go. This still just doesn't feel like a very spooky green, I'm gonna be honest. QSMP, I've heard of it, I don't know a lot of the details about it. I'm always happy to hear more. Thinking the last SMP I actually like followed was early days. It was not that early, but it was like the Earth SMP, the one where it was the whole planet and like the map recreation. Because I got into it through Captain Sparkles and like older school streamers. So like I definitely sort of ran into it as a tangent. I'm feeling like these shadows ought to all be much darker. But I'm seeing this. Oops. Do. Ooh. Sounds like things are, well, I'd say things are getting exciting, but I don't think that there's ever a dull moment in it from all the stories I've heard. Let's see. How do we want to do this next? Oh, sorry. Well, it was good to see you, Fox. Hope you have a good one. Little silly face. We'll leave the eyes for now. Oh, jeepers. Yeah, the create mod will damage sinking anything it touches. It's a fun mod, but holy cow. I'm amazed it runs at all. flip this one and let's go like full black on Claire's lines. At this point, I think it makes more sense. Whew. A little laggy, but I think that's sharper. Oh, we're getting a little bit of weirdness around those edges that I'll need to fix. Aye. That's just an issue with the shadow layer, though. Smaller brush for that. Well, let's see. Let us see where we're landing with this one. Wish the fill tool didn't have quite so bad of anti-aliasing. It does complicate things a little bit. Oh yeah, I feel the same way about that, the same way I feel about like VTubers, like the big ones like Hololive and stuff. Like it seems like there's a whole world that lives in there, but I'm gonna need a lot of help to get caught up before I would even start. Or like Toho. Thinking, I like the music. I'm afraid to even touch the lore and stories and everything behind it. And like the SMPs are much the same way, but it's still like, I don't know. It's funny. Like I really do love like running into random like article headlines and stuff from the SMPs just out in the wild, because it feels like there's no context for it, at least for me. And so like they're so off the wall. It's really fun. And I can tell a lot of people are having a lot of fun with them. So. I am not going to complain. Let's see. That, I can't do a red cross because Geneva Convention, so we'll leave that as that. With the Toho part. Oh man, there's like a whole world of lore to that one. I'm gonna hold off for just a minute, I think. But one of these days I will probably go and mess with that one, so I may take you up on that. Just because it seems like there's a lot of fun buried in there someplace. Okay. Hold on, there's... Check something. Secret with a proper like glow is. Oh, okay. I probably need to mess with hues a little more, and get darker ones the further away it is. Okay. And fair enough. I'll look forward to meeting Coco at that then. Let's see. Maybe I can just like soft airbrush some stuff in. I should really just like let this go and post it at some point, but it feels like it's so close to being where I want it to be that like I'm gonna push a little longer. Without this, none of it's green. With this, I've got like 2 hues of green. Oh, okay, so I need to go with like lighter, closer to white colors, and then darker, closer to like a darker green here. Okay, okay. Maybe even a blue-green out there. Although if the core of the light is kind of an off blue. Okay, yeah. Then that is something I can work with. But first off, where's the stinking... Oh, I put it down here. No wonder I haven't been able to find it for ages. Not that I want to abuse the airbrush tool, but... I think we do spray, and we just do, like, really high particle density over a big area. Not a huge brush, though, just, like, over a large area. We probably get some interesting... That's probably this color itself, so like, let's just go like a tiny bit darker. Yeah, I need to actually go download some. I still only have the base brushes, just because I figured, like, you know, let's start with what we've got, and then we'll build up to anything more complicated. But I feel like we're at the point where it's time. And I might actually be able to use some of them in a way that, like, would be smart. I know there's a lot of great brushes out there. Okay, let's go for this one. Larger size. Whoops. Okay, no. The proper G pen. Well, you ought to do like the micron for this even or something, but... Yeah. I've tried making custom brushes and got absolutely buried in that, so I want to make sure that I've got like a specific use in mind and like find the right brush for the job rather than just like, because I'm the sort who would absolutely burn like several hours just messing with them and not actually like doing the thing I wanted to be working on, so I'm trying to be a little careful with it. I know this because I used to scrapbook, and the amount of random paper and patterns and junk that I have piled up and never used is just the worst. But I will mess with them though one of these days, and probably one of these days soon. It's getting to be about time. Just about time to actually get the shadows inside of here and inside of there, and the places where it would be visible in there. Likewise on this one. That was part of the problem. I had no stinking depth on my shadows. This is still not great, but it is better. And what it means is that I can, for the glow layer, I try to clean up a little bit more here first. But then for the glow layer, let's see. Keep saying that, but then I keep going back and being like, oh, one more thing on the shadows. Warm the mix before putting in... Warm the milk before putting in cereal? That's an interesting way to live one's life. I think I will pass on that. I mean, maybe it'd be good. I hear people talk about warm milk before bed. That's never something I've done, but we'll talk about it. I'm on the line recolor, that's why. But, like, who knows? Maybe there is something to it, but, like... Perhaps worth experimenting, but not by me and not right now. Another time when I'm feeling particularly daring, I suppose. Oh yeah, I mean hot chocolate. Yeah, okay, fair enough then. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable use case, and it's probably a solid argument that, yeah, I guess maybe warm milk has its place after all. Perhaps there's more to it than I initially thought, because hot cocoa is fantastic. Okay. And on the glow itself, I want to be grabbing progressively darker greens as we get away from it. So hold on, let me grab this. And let's shift in this direction on both axes. I always do marshmallow instead of whipped cream, but I can totally see how that one would be solid too. I'm not the biggest on whipped cream myself, but it definitely has its place. Okay, so what I actually need to do then, because of the way we've done this, is considerably darker, maybe? No, because it's losing saturation. Okay, so I need to actually, like... Oh, interesting. What if I, smaller, really lean into this section with that? Oh, that's a good thought. Yeah, mixing it in would be better. I've never liked whipped cream when it's just like a big old chunk on top of like pies and stuff. And drinks. Just because it feels like its flavor just drowns out everything else. And it's like, okay, it's done. You've got a big old stinking pile of it, and it just buried all the other tastes. But like mixed in, I could see potentially working better. That one might be a little too much yellow. Let's dial it back just a hair on that. Still make this slightly softer of a glow there. Ooh, no baked cheesecake. Oh. No, I haven't. I've always been the sort, because cheesecake is like... I like making cheesecakes, just baking cheesecakes basically, because they're like the most straightforward pie in the world. Or pie-like thing. When people say easiest pie, it's like, yeah, cheesecake 100% fits the bill. I may even go like a little more focused on this one. Like a little bit of contrast to make it really look like a cold light. Ooh, whoops. Let's see. Go for like way more in like these core spots, but it won't make much of a difference because of how bright that was. Yeah, I mean, if you don't have to bake at all, that's like even easier. Okay, I'm going to like do a little airbrushing. We'll see. We'll stick blur over the edges on that. Or actually, I have to blur the edges on the shadow layer, wouldn't I? Yeah, that's not quite what I want. I think I want blend, but of a smaller degree. A much smaller degree, my word. Oh yeah. When I was in college, the thing I got really into were like mug recipes, where it's not no bake, but the only thing you need to do is just like, you have a mug and you're set. Oh hey BNO! How are you? Let's see. Hey, you can't give me bits because I'm too small. I'm not even a Twitch affiliate. But thank you for offering. I appreciate the suggestion, or the thought. But yeah, no, you have found the truly small streams now. Welcome. Well, thank you for following. Appreciate it. So you're catching towards the end of a... I guess I should explain what the heck we're doing here. You are catching towards the end of a daily art challenge here, which is why this one's so rough around the edges, because we've only had a couple hours to try to throw this together, and my normal art process is so stinking slow. Like, this is our daily Witchtober. This one is the Necromancy, so we'll get into a little more on that. Man, I need to... Let me try... This is probably going to be a messy choice. Let's see. Oh, I'm fine on that. Like, I'm not in a rush to do affiliate. I kind of like being able to offer an ad-free experience, given where I'm at. And in any case, with affiliate, like, you have to maintain it too. So unless I get like a more standing base, and I'm not super in a rush for that. I'm enjoying just doing art practice right now. Like, someday, yeah, it'd be fun. As far as commission works go, not at the moment. Commissions are closed. I have a full-time job that I do outside of this, and so for my art time, I like to have a little more control over what I'm doing. Like, I'm happy to, like, if you want to throw a suggestion my way, I'm happy to consider it. But, like, I'm not doing, like, full-on commissioned work right now. It's, I used to do sewing commissions back in the day. Maybe I ought to break that out again sometimes, but those are a huge time commitment. Like, I'd need to adjust my prices a lot. I would do a commission and be like, sure, I'll make you a stuffed animal for like $20, and I'm like, oh, that's like less than $1 an hour. Maybe I shouldn't have agreed to this. So, learning experience. Yeah, well, that was in college days, and it was more of a, like, I want to test it. Oh, goblins are always fun. I need to do some more goblin... I need to do goblin art. I used to follow Honey Goblin back in the day and got a lot of useful streaming and art tips from her streams. Good chance to do some fan art, maybe. Ooh, yeah. Okay, that'd be fun. Probably need to get, like, an actual brush of some sort. Okay, yeah, that's way too bold. Like a hint of it glowing over a little bit. I normally do such harsh edges. I should have thought through the glow on this a little more. Do you have particular goblins that you like, or are you just sort of like happy to like have a goblin village and everything that be involved? Just normal goblins. Because there's so many different ways people write and think about goblins these days, and like Baldur's Gate has introduced a whole... I mean, it's not a new concept, but it's kind of shifted the way people talk and think about them lately. So it's been interesting. Interesting to see. There we go. That helps smooth it just that little bit. Not a ton, but like a little bit. You know what? I'm gonna cheese the lines just a tiny bit. A decent sized brush, and let's go for the old surgical mask type deal. Not over the nose though, apparently. Not quite wearing it right, but yeah. We'll do. A goblin menace. It would be fun. Yeah, it's a little too scratchy. I shouldn't be futzing around with this too much more. That is very true. Anything can be a menace if you believe. Even someone named Dennis. Yes, the classic goblin trench coat duo. Oh, that's a fun combo. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, I probably can't do any of that right now, and I suspect you'd want it sometime sooner. But I'm, like, head down in this art challenge for the whole month, so I probably won't be able to do the full commission for you or, like, the art. But I do keep us in mind, like, definitely in the future, that'd be such a fun duo to draw. Hold on, hide all the stinking texture and glow layers and stuff. Like, fix what I've just done to my base. Denise the Menace. Let's see. Right, then what I actually want to grab is the base color of the crow. This, I think. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see you again sometime. Feel free to drop in whenever you like. Whoa, okay, hold on. That. This is growing thoroughly overcomplicated. It ought to be something more like this, and we'll just do like a rough glow emanating from the bird, and this one ought to be like way more boldly green than anything else we've been doing. But yeah, thank you for dropping by. Like, absolutely. Let's see. Oh, this is a Clip Studio Paint, which I have. Whoa. It is paid. If you want a free version, Krita I used for years, and it's also absolutely fantastic. But CSP has a couple of really nice features like vector lines and some other things that I don't know. They've just been really handy. Let me. Okay. Definitely recommend it. And then my tablet's like a Huion 9 something 9 oh, HS611. Huion HS611. The main reason I got that, the benefit of it was partly it was larger than my old one, which was like a 6x8 or something, and so it's like a little easier to do big long movements with my hand on this. But the main reason is because it can do tilt sensitivity and not just pressure sensitivity. And with physical tools, I love using the edge of my pens and pencils, and so I wanted to be able to do that with digital stuff too. Of course, this little quick draw has definitely not made much use of that, but is what it is. Okay, and then stinking. I'm just going to rough in some stuff real quick. This glow effect is actually not terrible. Oh yeah, if you want, I've got the whole website should be linked in the description. I've got sifstreams.com on there, and it's got all the places we post stuff. I've got all the VODs on YouTube, but then the really active one right now is either Tumblr or technically Mastodon, but Tumblr is really the place. Twitter seems to be a little bit chaotic right now, and so I haven't been messing with that. But yeah, I'm either Sifamir or Sifstreams pretty much anywhere. Let's see. And of course we got the Discord too, where we post occasional updates and people post art and things like that if you want to. It's a little quiet these days, but it's still, like, if you post art in there, people will still notice. And that's really the fun part. Yeah, stinking... I heard that the estimates of Twitter's value have dropped to like 10% of what it was 2 years ago. It's crazy. So we'll see. Just bit of an avoidable mess, that. Oh, we want this G-pen. Okay, yeah. Now let me see if I can... I'm sure it's just a drop in the ocean. But, but hopefully it'll be a noticeable dent to reputation and such. But we'll see. This is way too big. This is definitely not going to resemble a human skull all that much, although actually that's helped a little bit, giving a little form there. I think maybe chilling a tiny bit on how wide that is. But we'll see. Yeah, definitely he's noticed. So we'll see how all that goes, but yeah. It's a real shame what's happened to that site. Not that that site was, like, the best place ever beforehand, either, to be fair, but, like, it's a real mess. Been wild watching like Tumblr make something of a resurgence as a result of all the stuff going on, because like every platform, like Tumblr was like the first one to kind of implode itself for various reasons, and like it's had enough time to kind of recover from that implosion, like as the other platforms are starting to go through their weird hiccups. Like yeah, I've definitely. Like, anything I have on there, I've also got saved locally at this point. That whole site is just a mess. Hey, Scopic, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm running, like, super long, which is going to be a theme for the rest of this month, probably. Welcome to Witchtober. The, art contest. Not contest, just a challenge, basically. With daily prompts. Let's see. Which, not... No, not Tobert. We don't need to bring back the D&D character Tobert. Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay, let's see. Look, I have a list of D&D names that are basically just gibberish words that I save. Just to have on hand in case I ever need one for an NPC. And Scopic over here forgot to name his own player character before starting a session one time. That's right, I'm gonna call you out on that still as a joke. But yes, so I was like, okay, pick something from the list, and they found Tobert. So we had the character Tobert in our campaign. I should mention most of these names are terrible. And I take pride in that. There's some joy in the fact that, like, my NPC names are memorably bad most of the time. Like, for important ones, I'll, you know, actually plan it. But if y'all just, like, meet a random person, and I'm like, well, I guess it's time to break out the list. Not that one, actually. Toss that one. I'm gonna taper that a little more, too. Honestly, yeah, that would have tracked. I don't remember what Tobert actually was. All I know is Tobert was min-maxed to, like, translate languages, which is a choice. Actually, it would have been very useful in that particular campaign. It's a shame that Tobert wasn't able to stick around longer. Yeah, not combat useful, but like half the D&D stuff we do isn't all that combat heavy anyway, so like it's not that big. Let's see, I'll shrink this one down a little bit. Why are there two of them? Why are there? How did I accidentally copy it? There we go. Just shrink and move. No copy. That was a wildly powerful invocation, and I'm still like, that's not base game, is it? I feel like that one's not like original, like in D&D, because it's so powerful for that sort of thing. That's singing core D&D? Oh my word. Almost. I mean, we did have some stuff that needed to get translated, as I recall. So, you nay or no. Yeah. Unfortunately, scheduling was the ultimate monster that broke that game. Oh, I drew this one on the background. Well, whatever. Go back to the skeleton layer, shall we? I've made... Yes, I have given you too much power with that stinking skeleton army. Uh, but I won't nerf it. I stand by the bad choices I've made in allowing you to do that. Yeah. And I eagerly await to see what creative things you do with that skeleton army. I'll say that much. You have the power, now you have the responsibility to make it interesting. Perhaps you can, what is it, kill them with kindness, as they say? You should go the Galadriel route. All will love me and despair. Yes, and perhaps the results of that contest will determine the fate of the town at the rate things are going. I do allow a large amount of chaos in the campaigns that I run. I find that it makes things more exciting. I'm very much a believer of the, like, yes and approach to improvisation, so, like, if people have an interesting idea, I am down to run with it as far as they're willing to push it. Ah yes, the wage negotiations proved rather complicated, actually, didn't they? Well, y'all won them over in the end, and totally... you totally destroyed the skeleton union in the process of negotiating those wages. There's gonna be consequences for that! Maybe, or maybe not. I mean, who knows? Maybe you'll get away with it. Oh, jeepers. I'm not breaking out the calculator again. Skopic, do you remember how much they're getting paid? Okay, so a pretty significant amount. Oh, that's right, that's right. And then on this one, I feel like I ought to. Alright. Smaller, maybe. Well, now, that's looking, I think, perhaps sufficiently ominous for our purposes. And a pretty solid array of skeletons to boot. I may put two more, like, a little further behind that are still more recognizable, just for clarity's sake. Okay, let's see. I'm sure there is. But, like, do you even need hit points as the Necromancy Wizard? You've got all the skeletons. Like, they're here for you. Okay, and then I need to... Better job on this one. Mostly faded into the back with just some, like, moderate highlights. Gotta have the skeletons. Gotta have the skeletons. And this part where I can just kind of go freeform, look up a couple of skeleton references, and then just stinking have fun with it. And, like, not think too much about proportions or all, but just kind of, like, go for the feel. It's a lot of fun. Let's see. Start with, like, kind of a... I'm on the right color for this. This is a very jowly looking skeleton. Turn into stinking ET. I really do need to wrap up for the night, or else the exhaustion is going to kill the quality of these far faster than anything else I could actually do intentionally. Also far, far too big. Okay. I mean, yeah, 4th edition had Eladrin for a race like that. I don't know what you've got in 5th. pretty dark. This one's way in the back. Like some hints of glow kind of on the face. Yeah. Then I can throw in some like quick little skeleton bits and bobs and we'll be good to go. Oh, right, Dampier too. Oh, I mean, there's a whole lot of other stuff you gotta unravel with that one, but yep, it's definitely an option too. They're getting pretty far back here. Need to be pretty dark too. Okay, there we go. Maybe like a little bit part that's facing, just so we're still getting a little bit of depth even in these super far away, super vague ones. Okay. Oh, this is stinging. Well, today's prompt was Necromancer, so I dug up an old D&D character concept, and then it has slowly evolved into whatever this is, which isn't all that related to the original D&D character concept, I'll be honest. This is Cleric, or Cleric, who's not a cleric, but the original concept is that this is a character who thought they were a cleric, and they were just extremely stinking wrong about that. I don't know, it's evolved a lot since then, so this version is really just become its own character at this point. Human named Gob. I feel like I ought to do just like a very faint, and then I'll stop messing with this, but like a little more faint greenish glow over the rest of the outfit. This is probably not going to work well, but yeah, no. Oh, if I make that like super faint. Actually, that kind of works. There we go. Not too much, just the slightest hint. You man. Yeah, no, Claire was a character I came up with way back when, and the idea was that it was a necromancer who didn't even know. She genuinely thought she was a cleric, and was just really good at saving those cases where all the other healers had given up. So yeah, perhaps a little... The problem is, like, while that's a fun character concept, it's terrible as, like, an actual party member, because if your group wants a healer, they probably want someone who's actually going to heal them and not just bring them back from the dead, you know? But, depends a lot on the party, I suppose, but I feel like it'd be a hard one to find a good group for. Oh, that one was very much a homebrew Necromancer class back in the day for 4th edition, so, like, thinking... Do with that what you will. That was back in my stinking high school days, so, like, very much not well balanced, not well thought out. I'd like to think I've come a long way since some of those. Not that high schoolers can't do awesome stuff, I just was like, balance was not my forte in those days. softer sort of gradienting it out. Oh dear, we got a little bit of the edge with it. Don't want to capture that. And perhaps just like a very simple little... Okay, fine. At this point, I've just committed. I'm so far over time that I'm just gonna like have a little fun with it. We'll add some stuff, but whatever. Okay, point is, it's time for me to start wrapping up, so I'm going to put my name on this and actually do that. I'm going to rotate this to make this a little easier. I mean, Stinking Berserk is its own whole can of worms, mate. Right, that's it. Oh, 2026. What am I doing? Okay. Yes, future me is trying to send me a message. This art will be good, but not until 2026. Shrink this a little bit, and then we'll fix it. We'll fix it. But, like, it was a little too dominant there with how bright it was. Okay. That's better. Okay. That turned out exceedingly dramatic. And I'm not sure the original drawing's all that amazing, but I'm quite happy with that background. So with that, I am an hour and a half over time, and fortunately I did as much as I could in prep, so I'm not, like, I think I should still be able to get to bed in time for work. But I definitely need to wrap up for the night so I can get this uploaded and all that jazz. So, thank you all for dropping in. This has been an absolute blast. And, hope y'all have a good one. Morning, afternoon, evening, night, whenever it may be. Until next time, y'all hang in there.